What comes to mind when you think about California? Water, right? The California coast, a surfer's paradise. What about California lakes? Would you believe that California's biggest inland lake is a man-made natural disaster 100 miles east of San Diego and 50 miles north of the border?
The Salton Sea was formed in 1905 when massive flooding caused the Colorado River to break through an irrigation canal headwork and flow freely into the Salton Basin of the Imperial Valley for 18 months.
The accidental man-made lake spans 35 by 15 miles across the Imperial Valley and is an important water resource for hundreds of thousands of birds, fish, and locals alike. However, the Salton Sea is dying, thus having devastating effects on these populations. In the 1950s and 60s, the Salton Sea was a resort destination, a lakeside paradise in the middle of the hottest desert in California. The towns bordering the sea are now eerily abandoned, with only ruins of what once was a vibrant vacation town.
The famous Salton Sea smell comes from the extremely high levels of hydrogen sulfide present in the lake as a result of decaying organic matter. It's crazy to think that people once swam in there.
Our mission as a learning cluster was to test and observe the varying water sources emptying into the sea and the actual sea itself. We tested the different water samples using a colorimeter. A colorimeter is a device which uses light to detect specific colors in a water sample. First, we scan a blank, then scan a sample that has been put through a series of added chemicals. The colorimeter allows us to determine how many parts per million of each substance we checked for. We tested for ammonia, nitrates, nitrites, lead, mercury, phosphate, and E. coli. When ammonia is present in water at high enough levels, it is difficult for aquatic organisms to sufficiently excrete the toxicant, leading to a toxic buildup of internal tissues and blood, and potentially death. Ammonia levels are considered average at 0.02 to 0.4 parts per million. In the fish farm drainage creek, which drains straight into the Salton Sea, we discovered there were 79.2 parts per million ammonia. These levels are extremely toxic. The ammonia levels are so high due to the fish farm's biowaste.
Nitrates and nitrites are present when ammonia or other nitrogen-rich substances are exposed to oxygenated water. High levels of nitrites and nitrates have an effect similar to ammonia on water quality. Lead and mercury are extremely toxic when present in even small amounts. We encountered very little to no lead in our samples. Mercury levels were above the safe levels of 0.02 parts per million, with over 1.0 parts per million at 2 different locations.
Phosphorus is an essential element for plant life, but when there's too much of it in the water, it causes a speed-up of eutrophication, a reduction in dissolved oxygen in water bodies caused by an increase of mineral and organic nutrients of rivers and lakes. 6 out of 8 of the bodies of water had over 0.1 parts per million phosphate, which is the safety standards. E. coli, which reside naturally in all of our intestines, is very harmful when consumed and is not permitted in safe drinking water. E. coli was present in all of our tests. While driving to our different test points, we couldn't help but notice endless miles of agricultural fields and cows. The exporting of agricultural products is central to the economy of communities surrounding the Salton Sea, most notably Imperial County. With over 60 different crops grown as of 2013 and farmland stretching nearly 1,000 miles around the Salton Sea, the importance of this region in regards to agriculture cannot be overstated.
The hundreds of miles of farms in the Imperial Valley surrounding the Salton Sea require roughly 917,540 million gallons of water a year, which becomes runoff containing fertilizer, chemicals, and other byproducts. Agricultural runoff used to be the primary water source for the Salton Sea, but most of this source was cut off from the sea in 2017, and it is thus now receding faster than ever.
A major threat posed by the receding shoreline of the Salton Sea is the increased risk for toxic dust storms. These dust storms not only pose a human health hazard, but an agricultural and thus economic effect as well. The Salton Sea creates the temperate climate which allows the Imperial Valley to be the single largest provider of winter crops in the United States. If the Salton Sea were to dry up, so would the region as a whole.
In 2003, the Imperial Irrigation District sold a portion of its water from the Colorado River to the San Diego County Water Authority, thus diverting the water flowing into the Salton Sea to San Diego. This means that the Salton Sea is shrinking at an alarming rate, with lake levels predicted to drop at least 1.5 feet each year. As the lake also resides on ancient salt deposits, the fluctuating water levels greatly increase the salinity or saltiness of the Salton Sea. Salinity increases at an average rate of about 3% a year and is predicted to reach a point where no fish will be able to survive within the next few decades. Currently, only artificially introduced species of tilapia are able to withstand the salinity, with these populations sharply declining each year. While fishing in the sea is allowed, there are advisory warnings against eating the fish, as it includes extremely high rates of selenium and other dangerous substances, including chemicals like DDT and PCB.
So, why is it important to save the Salton Sea? About 400,000 people live in the Imperial Valley and are directly affected by the quality of the Salton Sea. As a result of the gases released from the sea, the Imperial Valley has the highest rate of youth asthma in the country. The air quality fails to meet most federal standards and continues to get worse every year.
Hundreds of thousands of birds use the Salton Sea each year as an important nesting and breeding ground. Over 400 species of birds rely on the wetland as an important food source and resting point when migrating south. As several of these species remain on the endangered species list, the risks posed to these birds are a matter of life and death.
Once a paradise, now a wasteland, the Salton Sea is a perfect example of an ecological disaster and real-life apocalypse in Southern California.